listening to Final Frontier News. From the furthest reaches of the universe to the innermost depths of the mind, this is Final Frontier News.
Hey everybody, welcome to Final Frontier News. It's been a while, but we are back, and we are back for good, actually, this time. I said that the minute we started making videos again would be the minute that you knew we were back. So whether it's once a week or more, we're probably going to try to shoot for more than that, but we'll figure that out eventually.
Hopefully more.
Yeah, more. But every day, I can't go one day without seeing an article about Planet X, or about some hidden planet or new planet, or Pluto isn't a planet again, and it's not, and it is. And there's so much news on this. But apparently, they're once again pointing towards, astronomers say they found data, which they've said they had data on this before, like to prove that there's some sort of anomaly or planet or something out there. Planet 9 exists, or Planet 10 exists, depending on whether you think Pluto's a planet or not. And it's just the way that the planets are moving, the way things are moving in space, and the pull and the gravity. There's got to be something out there. And they're using sky mapping data to figure this out. And they're finding more and more evidence on this every day. And that's why I think I'm seeing articles on this every day. What do you think, guys? Do you think there's multiple masses out there, planets? Is it an elliptical orbit? Why haven't we seen these things?
My personal belief is that, because, I mean, ever since Caltech researchers published their evidence late last year of, Planet 9 or X's existence, I mean, the large mysterious body thought to lurk at the edge of our solar system has been, captivating in many senses. I mean, the sense of wonder and awe that comes with it. Maybe my theory has always been, if you look at our universe as like a dinner plate, in the sense that it's finite, it only goes so far. And then another universe exists outside of ours. So now we have two dinner plates, but like a Venn diagram, they kind of, they meet in the middle. I think that might be what's actually happening. And then the planet being towards the edge is actually rotating around another universe, and it just happens to intersect the edge of our universe.
Wow, so you're going in a whole different route there.
I have an out there theory. It's not anything, really confounded by science. There's not much proof behind it. It's just a thought, really, but it's something to consider. I mean, when you figure, they have this project out dubbed the Planet 9 Search, funded by space enthusiasts and astronomers alike. And, they were given access to thousands of images taken by ANU's Sky Mapper telescope. They were trying to find anything that appears to move against the mostly motionless background of the distant stars, and how they were able to see, this one object kind of, float through. There was over 21,000 volunteers in this project. They moved through over 100,000 images. They classified more than 5 million objects, work that would take just, one PhD, astronomer student 4 years. So they did this in less than 3 days. And they basically ruled out the possibility, they ruled out the possibility of an unknown Neptune-sized object about 90% of the photos that were taken. So the 4 objects identified by the campaign are considered interesting enough that professional astronomers are taking now a closer look. Much as Pluto did, they appear as tiny moving dots in the light in the Sky Mapper images. So, I mean, there's definitely something there. That's the concrete evidence enough to show that there is something. We just don't know what at this point. So then with the article you had sent, this is kind of where we're at now. Dave, you want to touch upon the article there?
Well, I'm not sure what you were referring to in regards to universes, different universes.
Yeah, I'm trying to... So we're talking about a physical planet coming in, perhaps every, that classic Planet X Nibiru story where it comes in on an elliptical orbit. But you're saying this is like a multiverse or a universe or parallel?
Well, that's what I was just personally thinking myself. I mean, like I said, I've read different thoughts. There's nothing that has any like empirical evidence that this exists. But in my mind, it would make sense if there's a universe next to ours where, you know, if you think away that the planets rotate around
Are you
our
referring
sun,
to a galaxy or an actual universe?
an actual universe, like an actual, you know,
But
whole separate. It would be essentially another galaxy, but in a universe that would be able to kind of like flow through ours. It's very out there.
You mean that, like, so you're thinking like that it's a parallel universe. It's another dimension, basically, that is piercing
a parallel
through.
universe is exactly that, parallel. It's not within another universe.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
I'm trying to understand.
That's why I was trying to say like two dinner plates, like one next to the other, where they're it's just like it's mirroring one. I'm having a hard time explaining it the way my mind is representing it, but.
Well, I get what you're saying. That is out there, though. That's even further.
Yeah, like basically, what I'm trying to get at is that the planet we would only be able to see it at certain points because it would only be visible. It would only be in our time, in a certain plane of existence.
I get what you're saying now. Yeah, because like parallel is so defined, but maybe not parallel, but like sort of certain. Like it's almost like seeing ghosts, and then you think that's
kind of.
It's a different. We might have crossed a different dimension, so to speak, that's crossing over. A different plane
of existence entirely, where this planet does exist in another universe entirely, but it was able to flow through our galaxy and then, kind of head back to where it belongs. So that's why we're able to see it at certain points, but then not able to find where it should be during other times.
Or it comes and goes. I get that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, it sounds insane and kind of like unfounded, but at the same time, with the vastness of space and the way things go and the infinite possibilities, it's not necessarily out of the realm of possibility when you think of like infinite space and how big space is.
Just say there's a wormhole that's not created that kind of like sucks it through, so it's able to go back into the galaxy where it's from and then loop back to ours in its same rotation in one huge gravitational pull. With our sun being the middle, we go all the way to the edge, and then this planet is able to be seen because it's slipping through another galaxy into ours, but in a parallel universe stance. Like I don't know if that makes sense at all.
No, that's fine. It's just
I have to ask you to provide some information to at least guide me to what you're referring to, because
it's out there. Yeah,
some of the stuff doesn't seem to make sense to me, or at least
well, we'll go with more compounded fact that you have.
You might as well just told Dave
what they're able to prove at this point.
You might as well just told Dave like something about religion just now, I think.
Yeah, and then Santa's real,
But no, let's get back to the so that's your theory. Now we know what Shake's theory is on it. But let's get back to the main theory that there's actual like physical planets in our space and time in that area. We just can't quite see them, make them out.
Well, I was hoping to comment specifically on this, is that there's been for quite some time actually not only speculation of some sort of extrasolar body that's out there that's affecting the masses from within due to its gravity, but even as early as 1983 at the South Pole Telescope, the SPT, in Antarctica, they spotted an object which they announced, actually. There's two scientists, Neugebauer and Hoch, and they announced that they had basically figured out there was a Jupiter-sized planet. And again, this has been changed later on in the future depending on who's doing the research, but it's either a Jupiter-sized planet or it's a planet with the mass of Jupiter, or potentially it's a system of planets and perhaps a brown dwarf as its central star that has the mass of Jupiter that is affecting this. And not only do you have the Kuiper belt, which is just outside our solar system, according to the speculation, because we still haven't had any photos taken of that area. But beyond that, there's the Oort cloud, which again is supposedly consisted of all these different frozen asteroids and such that eventually are affected, that bring them into Earth's influence and may or may not interact with our planet or planets in our solar system. So there's been a lot of evidence that's indicated that there is something out there, and potentially more than one thing out there. Right now, we've never had that opportunity to have either satellites or anything else that could detect these things at that distance, and we're relying on things that are essentially within Earth orbit or somewhere in the middle of the solar system, regarding a satellite that is looking outwards. But there's a lot of stuff that we can't currently see, and we're relying on mathematical computers that are telling us, okay, this object shifted this amount, there must be this sort of influence. So
there's a lot of probabilities and statistics that go along.
We're working with numbers. We're not looking. We can't normally see anything at that distance.
Yeah, it's algorithms really, less actual what the eye can see, but what the mind can produce.
Yeah, and there's so many different, you're really cutting down to the facts of the matter and what we know and the technical aspects of it, but there are people running with all sorts of, different theories and ideas, and much like Jake kind of jumped into a different plane here, there's people who are, speculating, and there are people that say they, the ones that say they speak with perhaps aliens or, that they know they've been in contact or those type of things. They say that, the Planet X won't come. There won't be a Nibiru. There won't be a planet outside that comes around and disrupts us and ends the Earth and ends us, because those mass objects that are out there are having an effect on things, and what they're doing is they're protecting us from comets. And they say that aliens put them there to protect the Earth from comets, and that's why so many comets can come close, but they never hit the Earth now. But yet we get hit every day by certain things in meteors. So I'm not really sure about where that's.
I'm not sure about that either.
Right. But that is a theory that's makes a lot of money, and a lot of people talk about it. But look at the one that ties in with the one that's coming by. When is that one? Do you know, Dave? When that one is coming by soon? We're coming within 1 million miles of the planet or something like that.
It's supposed to be coming mid-April, I believe. If you had given me a
heads up on that, that's okay.
To look into this, I could have had the exact date. But essentially, it's supposed to be coming within. They say 4.2 lunar distances, and that's like about 1 million miles from what the article told me. But that being said, April 19th, here's the date.
April 19th. Well, that's not far away.
A 1.4 kilometer wide asteroid said to for a close shave with Earth on April 19th. Now, again, we're talking millions of miles, for example, and it might sound like a lot, but in celestial terms, it's actually fairly close to the point where Earth's gravity, because it's a gravity well, it's actually attracting things in a 3D and 4D manner. So there are things that are potentially going to come into its gravity well. It might go away, but now it's altered that course for a definitive return that's going to hit straight onto the planet. So these things, need to be considered when it comes to these objects that are getting very close to us.
How long do you? And here's another thing you may not know, and I don't know it. But I don't know if they told us how often, or do they know how often this thing is going to come back? Because, like you said,
this asteroid was first sighted in 2014, and it was labeled J0 or J025, and again, that's basically 3 years. So they knew that it was going to come, close, but not close enough that would warrant panic, I guess, or at least some sort of defensive measure. So again, there's specific government departments that are set up to monitor this sort of thing, and it's already difficult enough with all the space junk that's floating out there to make this even more challenging of a task. And a lot of people are talking about the fact that we should at least consider the fact that Earth, if you look at Earth Earth ice cores, if you look at geological samples, it indicates that every so often, every like maybe 50 to 70 million years, there is some sort of catastrophic event with meteors and asteroids and such that like hit the Earth, very hard. And Earth is now overdue for that for quite some time. So perhaps maybe that adds credence to some of these individuals that are saying, aliens are protecting the Earth from being hit. I don't have any proof to disprove that, or vice versa. Well, but there's also the fact that perhaps we should be keeping into consideration,
when you think
because of the fact that we are geologically overdue for a hit from a massive event from an asteroid.
When you think about the way that asteroids and stuff can work too in our system, where like, hey, this asteroid comes by every 10 years or every 50 years or every 3,000 years, this asteroid comes by. Like we already know about a lot of asteroids that come back every 20 years or 50 years because of the rotation or their pull, their gravity that they're on. They don't just float by the planet and then never come back again. You know what I mean? Because people think, and I'm sure a lot of them might do that, but because of the pull and the gravitation, a lot of these things, they're always been there. Like this thing has been probably floating in space maybe for as long as, maybe the Earth has been here or something. And if there was an explosion a long time ago, I'm trying to think of how to explain it to anybody. I mean, like it's almost like when you set something in motion in a video game and it just constantly repeats. So if you roll something and then it comes back every once in a while in the same way, the same pattern, until you stop it and you change the direction. I mean, when that first explosion or whenever this explosion or whatever happened to cause these asteroids happened, they're set in their ways, they're set in motion. If it was a big thing and they're coming back, what if the huge holes on the planet, you know what I mean, there's more of those and they come back every years and they hit the planet.
That's actually Isaac Newton's first law of motion, which is that an object at rest stays at rest and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. So that is exactly what you're talking about in regards to these planetary objects that continue to circulate until they are influenced by some sort of additional force, whether it be Earth's gravity, maybe the moon's, and who knows what direction it's going to cast that asteroid into as soon as that occurs.
And every time it comes back, the moon and the Earth and all the gravity might have changed a little bit. So every time it goes past a new planet or a system or an area, it is adjusted slightly. So if there were these giant objects, if there were 30 giant objects, and they pass by the Earth every 20 million years or every million years or every whatever years it is, one of them hit the Earth and devastated the planet, and maybe 6 of them kept going. But then when they come around the next time, they could be shifted again, and now now 2 of them are coming at the Earth, it's not hard to think every 30,000 years or every 100,000 years or every million years or whatever it is, whatever pattern or journey they're on, that every time they're slightly altered. Because you'd say, oh, well, Joe, why didn't they all just hit the Earth and then that was it? But it was because, well, some going by may have hit the Earth and some kept going. But on their swing around the next million years, they got adjusted and pulled towards where the Earth is. But after they've already gone by the Earth, their course was adjusted slightly by something, outside interference of something or gravitational pull. And now, when it comes back around the next time, it's going to hit the Earth. So, that's something very easily understood and scientific that scares me, because that's very, very, very possible when you look at how all the planets spin around each other and the way they are and the way asteroids come by. And this is a complete question that you probably don't know the answer to. I don't know the answer to it. There are asteroids that we've seen and been able to study come back around, small ones. So do anybody know if they've studied these things of like, oh, look, Betty, asteroid Betty or whatever the hell, has changed by, 100 miles or something like that. 10,000 miles. It's off course compared to where it was the last time we saw it. So that study of those can tell you, what these things can do, or what this planet could do, or what this mass could do. What if those planets that you say are having an influence are on the outside of the solar system, and they're moving slow? What if it was moving so slow but yet moving? And that is the Planet X that they talk about that's coming closer to the Earth all the time and on an elliptical orbit. I mean, do you think those... And I know I just talked a whole bunch of shit, and I shouldn't have swore because we're not supposed to, but... But do you... Dave, right out, I just want to know, do you think those planets that they're finding, or whatever those dark masses that could be influencing the solar system, are they moving? Do you think they're moving? Do you think that's Planet X coming towards the Earth like everybody says, or do you think they're just out there?
We're going to have to do a different episode on this because there's a lot of evidence that we need to examine wholeheartedly without any judgments, because there's a lot pro and con that discusses this. It's too hard for me to summarize it for you, Joe. I'm sorry. But all I can say really is that there are definitely objects beyond Pluto that are influencing several things, including the direction that asteroids and such go in Earth's direction. But there are also topics that we need to discuss on this channel in regards to interstellar objects that are between Pluto and the Sun that are approaching Earth.
When do you want to talk about those?
When you've got maybe an hour's worth or maybe 20 minutes.
All right. Let's do that the next time, then we'll talk about all that.
Yeah, that'll be something we look forward to. I mean, basically, I wanted to end, cap on this. I really wanted to quickly pick both your heads. I mean, with the article you said, astronomers may have the data, needed to prove that this planet X9, whatever you want to call it, exists. I mean, the fact that it could be a rogue planet that is floating freely in space long after the formation of our solar system. I mean, so does that mean to say that it's not on any type of, set path and gravitational pull itself? I mean, that alone, but with the sun's gravity being so intense as it is, that's what holds our galaxy together. Wouldn't it have to have some form of reaction towards that gravitational pull to put it into a set path? I
mean, it could, if it's on an elliptical orbit, like they say. I mean, it would be like, you would assume that it would be so far away that it would only have a slight influence, but it would be pulled maybe closer each time or something like that.
Yeah, even with that slight influence, you figure we'd be better able to predict when and where it would be next time.
Unless it's a free roaming object. I mean, look, like we said, look at comets. I mean, look at stuff. Look at asteroids. There could be a giant asteroid. It could be a giant planet that's rogue like that. There's no reason why. It couldn't. It just didn't. It didn't start the same way everything else started and get influenced by the sun. Maybe it's a larger mass. I don't know. But if you look at an elliptical orbit, it's not possible that it would go, come around, zoom, and it would go way outside and come back. That could happen. You could simulate. You could do a simulation with magnets on this, and you could see how that would happen with very high yield intensity magnets and different variations of magnets. I don't know if you've ever done this, but yeah, you can turn the magnet around, a circular magnet around, and it will go around and it won't stop. And you can introduce a new magnet, and that will alter the other one, and they'll all continue to go around in circles. You could roll one way outside, and it will be influenced by that magnet still, but only slightly because it's not close enough, and it will continue to roll around, and they'll all stay on their same course. And then if you were to, maybe every 90-degree rotation at the exact point, the magnets actually end up, two of the magnets on the rotation come close to each other. And every time they come slightly close to each other, they harness each other a little bit, and they start to move slightly and change. And eventually they crash into each other. I mean, that's how I picture it, but that's more of a childlike mind. Maybe Dave pictures it a different way, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he would be able to better explain it, but the more I read, the more intrigued I am. I mean, the way I view this, they're saying that, Professor Paul Mason, went ahead and agrees that we have a guest that wasn't originally in our solar system, and claims that it may actually be a rogue planet, as we have been describing, that was just grabbed by our solar system's gravitational pull as it was floating aimlessly through space. So it wasn't even in our galaxy to begin with, and because of our strong pull, that it was pulled in, and now it does exist in our galaxy. So
yeah, I mean, it's different. I mean, because you're talking about elliptical orbits. So
solar system.
Yeah. You're talking about Kepler's law or something like that, right? I mean, like, I don't know.
yeah.
Kepler's law is like, what is Kepler's law? Something like a planet, I don't know. Maybe, Dave, do you know about Kepler's law?
I can't remember.
Kepler's 3 laws of planetary motion can be, all planets move about the sun in elliptical orbits, having the sun as, the main focus. There's something about a radius vector. I forget it all.
It's the elliptical shape of an orbit as a result of the inverse square force of gravity. Look it up, guys. You'll see what we're talking about, and that's my answer.
Yeah.
Go look that up, and you'll find out. Well, we'll get into that more in another episode. We'll do a whole hour on objects free roaming in space and what collides with the Earth and the potentials and the possibilities on that. And then we'll have some more shows for you here on Final Frontier News. We're going to have there's some conspiracy stuff that I wanted to get into. There's some stuff about magnetism and lightning and basically gases in space that they've been studying certain gases in space. That's another thing we could talk about. But there's a bunch of stuff, and I believe not that many episodes back we did the Mandela effect. Maybe we'll get back into that type of stuff as well. Whatever you guys want to hear, start sending us stuff again because we're paying attention again. Hope you guys can subscribe down below to Final Frontier News, and thank you to Dave and Jake for being here. And our Patreon, we are starting one. Hopefully by this video it's up. So if you guys want to support us, obviously we don't make much on YouTube right now. We're just starting on this channel for the most part. And go back. I encourage you to go back and listen to all the other episodes. There's like 15 or 18 more episodes of Final Frontier. I think you guys will enjoy them. They're all about an hour. And if you really want to support what we're doing here and you like the episodes, you want us to keep going, then make sure to go to patreon.com/Final Frontier News, or the link will be in the description box down below. Thanks for listening.